What is good, ladies and gentlemen? It has been a hot minute to say the least. and I hope everyone out there is doing well. To the few people that might discover the stream being live, shout out to you. For the people that remember the whole Jenkins page, this is, I don't have Twitter or X anymore, of course. I never deleted this YouTube channel completely for some reason. But well, I think the reason is I've always had the urge and sort of desire to still do streams, but not actually participate in the community. So I can't say that I miss being on Twitter. I don't miss the whole social media aspect of being around here, but I do miss connecting and just going over the charts with people and adding value, right? So I'm going to say this ahead of time. Well, I guess I didn't turn off the comments, but I'm not going to really be active in any way, shape, or form outside of just doing my videos. But I do definitely, I have been getting the urge to stream as of late. It's been there for probably a couple months now. I'm just trying to walk that line of like, oh, do I want to be in the face of the public again? I'm enjoying my life. On the other hand, being a father, accumulating my assets, and really building my bag in the bear market, and yeah, just enjoying the real life, kind of detaching from the technology side of the world. It's been good, but yeah, this is a passion of mine, and this is something that I'll always do regardless. But anyways, glad to be back, and I just want to go over some charts. I want to look at the current state of the Richard Hart ecosystem, the PulseChain ecosystem. There's been a lot that has happened since my last appearance. I don't even know when I actually left. It's been over a year, maybe. I think I left Twitter about a year ago. Last time I did a stream, it's been over a year easily, but yeah, so I just want to I'm going to look at some charts and kind of just give you my perspective and what my sentiment is overall. First things first, I mean, it sounds silly and obvious, but Bitcoin's over 100,000. It's been that way for a long time, but last time I've been on the actual internet as Jenkins, I think it was probably under 50, 40, which is crazy. Not going to do any technical analysis on Bitcoin, but Ethereum I wanted to look at briefly because with Ethereum, as most people may know, but for those who don't, the entire state of PulseChain is kind of dependent on what Ethereum is doing and what Ethereum's going to do. Richard Hart, per se, put all of his eggs into that basket. And I know it's been something, that the community and the naysayers have had fun with him buying a ton of Ethereum with the sacrifice wallet, I think around like 3,800. And since then, price hasn't been anywhere close to it. Which overall, it's not a bad thing. It's just, I think tying the core of what PulseChain is really built around to something like Ethereum it's something that makes sense because PulseChain technically is Ethereum, a slightly better version, less expensive right now, slightly faster. And overall, I will say this, my experience using PulseChain for what it's worth has been flawless. It really has. I don't have any issues with Pulse, transaction wise, operating on the chain. The chain is what it was hyped up to be during the sacrifice phase. So I know prices aren't resembling that just yet, but the chain itself, it's the perfect chain. So I think that's the key thing here. When you're looking at price charts and kind of just building your overall sentiment, understanding that like the chain itself, the technology itself works. It's flawless and it's perfect. All you need is just some marketing and a community behind it to really get things rallying. Well, in this scenario, you need Ethereum to start ripping too, which every dog has its day right now. And then this cycle has been different than every other cycle. Bitcoin has really grabbed the attention of the masses and maintained its strength. But Ethereum really has kind of just gone under the radar. But that's not something that we expect, or at least I expect to, stay like for a while. So anyways, so Ethereum overall, like this blue line is the 200 EMA. It's a moving average that really shows a moving support and resistance line, a support and resistance line for the chart itself. And this is on the weekly chart. So this thing holds a lot of value here, right? So, but this is the all-time high in 2021. Remember when HEX was above 50 cents and everything? Yeah, Ethereum is going nuts, pushing 5K. And then, of course, the bear market came. It ripped under, and then it showed signs of wanting to turn this into a resistance line, which gave bad sentiment for all the other altcoins that were on Ethereum, even HEX. And we saw what happened to HEX over the past few years. I mean, down 99% at its very worst. And every other, not every, but mostly every other altcoin in the market followed suit. Meme coins were all dying. I mean, it was a brutal bloodbath, to say the least, that bear market from 2022 to 2023-ish. And a lot of it had to do, in my opinion, with how bad Ethereum looked. The structure looked like, if you just look at TA by itself, like, okay, boom, head and shoulder pattern right here. A little head and shoulder pattern right here. Boom. Price tanks. And then it comes up and respects this resistance line. You don't want to see 200 EMA resistance. Comes, retest it precisely on the line. And then, yeah, at that stage of the market, we're seeing HEX just seemingly had no bottom at that stage of the market. So, but anyways, yeah, price eventually got back up, started showing signs of support, bounced off support. And then even then, throughout all of 2024, didn't really come too close to the EMA, but we did wick it at one point. And then heading into 2025, I mean, this year, especially with the presidency change, all of the economics in the world and politics in the world shifting, I mean, it was kind of necessary for a shakeup in the market, which I believe to be as healthy. But yeah, we saw price only a few months ago wick off this EMA, come below. Now, the thing that I was paying attention to, and this is why I started getting the urge a few months ago to start streaming, was how is Ethereum going to react? Remember, this is the weekly chart. Every candle here is 1 week, right? How is Ethereum going to react to ripping below this 200-day EMA? And again, I'm talking about all this because what's happening here means this is happening on PulseChain and then some, right? So if things are going bad on Ethereum, they're probably going way worse on PulseChain. If things are going good on Ethereum, they're going way better on PulseChain. So there's a reason why I'm talking so much about Ethereum here. But yeah, so like seeing the reaction to dipping under that 200-day moving average was something that I was paying close attention to, because that was going to tell me the story of like, where are we at this stage of the cycle and at this part of the market? And yeah, I mean, the price, I mean, if you're doing regular TA, of course, you just draw a line. You got a regular support line where this old EMA was at, and it bounced right off, and price immediately got back above this moving average. And now where we're at this exact moment, we have the price, it stayed sideways for a couple months almost, and then price shot down and immediately shot back up off of that EMA. And that's where we're at today. Price is just kind of sitting sideways in this channel, which let me go ahead and delete these drawings. I haven't done an actual like live stream drawing on a chart in a while, outside of doing it on my phone when I'm looking at my own stuff. So got to break off the rust here. But yeah, just looking at the chart in the daily, I mean, you got this moving average, which isn't as strong as the weekly EMA, but daily still holds a ton. So price had just been accumulating sideways nonstop ever since getting over that moving average. And we did get a little bit of a distribution, but price immediately returns to normal. So we're thinking like, oh, it could be a bear trap, or it could be the start of a wave, big impulsive move, correction. And then, impulsive moves could follow that. But I don't know. I feel like at this stage of the market, things are looking up and looking good. So anyways, pay attention to this on Ethereum. I'm not going to break down the TA of this specific coin too much, but understand that we're just channeling sideways. So at the very least, what's 100% happening is tension has been building up. The tension tried to break, but immediately got bought right up. So to me, that's a good sign. but you still, in the midst of all of this madness, you want to see price eventually get out of this channel, break and retest above this whole entire, sideways square we got going on. So the fact that price tried breaking down and couldn't successfully do it yet is a good sign. But again, if we spend too much time channeling in this middle, we might be confirming resistance. And of course, that's where on a traditional TA pattern, you would look at a next wave down. But I like how long we've been sitting here and slowly moving up as of right now. But that's just something to keep an eye on. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to PulseChain. Whoops. Let's do this. Hang on. How do I do this? We're going to go to the fun charts. Make sure this is looking up here. Cool. So I'll start off with just looking at Pulse itself. I mean, on the weekly chart, there's not much data here. The chain isn't brand new by any means, but it also doesn't have much data, at least with action-packed evidence to kind of build some sort of thesis or bias outside of just speculating what you think might happen in the future. Because based on just, the price chart alone, if we look at the weekly chart, of course, I mean, everyone's been experiencing this. If you're watching the stream, I know you're in PulseChain, so we're all experiencing the same thing. Not too much has been going on, right? So when the chart or the chain first launched, of course, we had all that weird stuff going on in the beginning, and then we essentially found a bottom. Price came up. We were looking good. We were above the SAC rate and everything, and then boom, price came right back down to this range. So we sort of built this structure in the first year or so of PulseChain's launch, 2023 into 2024, and then into 2025. We saw PulseChain hit a new all-time low. Obviously, that was a few months ago in April. Found a new bottom. Now, what is currently happening is that old support line that we've seen those first couple years is acting as a resistance line in this moment. And again, this is the weekly chart, so take it with a grain. Where is my brush at? Let's find this brush. No, here we go. So for those that kind of don't understand what I'm talking about, you have two support bounces right there. Price broke underneath here, confirmed resistance, and then came down. Now, the thing that I'm paying attention to simultaneously with Ethereum, right? Ethereum's channeling sideways, as we know. PulseChain has been channeling down in that same time frame. But the thing that I'm paying close attention to is right now you have that all-time low bottom. We are trying to create a higher low. So something to pay attention to. I mean, in this current day, I mean, I think as the last 24 to 48 hours, prices have been going up, which of course, this looks like a small candle here, but I'll break them down and show the full candles in terms of like hourly and daily and stuff, because they look a lot better on the short time frames, especially for the people that have been accumulating as of late. But with what's happening now, we have this higher low in the works. Now, I would expect, and this is without breaking down any micro time frames, but I would expect, or at least hope, to see price at least get back to this support resistance area just to kind of confirm, or just to kind of show us what is actually happening and where the strength or weakness lies in the market. Because if price is moving now, at the very least, even if the chart's not healthy, I would expect it to come up to this range eventually. And this is within the next couple weeks. Or maybe in the next week or two, depending on, how long that actual, hang on, my baby's crying in the background, but don't worry about that. But I would expect at least a test right here, even in a bearish world, as crazy as that sounds, because that seems insanely bullish when you're talking about the PulseChain asset itself. But yeah, I want to see what plays out right here. You might get some sort of like triangle pattern where you have this flat line top, and hopefully in a bullish world, you get an ascending bottom and then create another higher low. And then in that scenario, you keep tapping this top line, break above it, and then, try to confirm some resistance there or some new support there off of the previous support that turned resistance. So that's something I would want to happen. Now, is that me saying I think that's going to happen? Absolutely not. I have no idea what's going to happen. Not a single human in this world has an idea what's going to happen on the price charts. Some people are better speculators than others. That's the absolute truth. And we do have some good guys in the community that do look at charts. I'm still on Twitter well, not me like publicly, but I still do follow some of the better pages in crypto. And there is some good guys out there that know charts. But what I'm saying is no human can predict, right? And everybody will eventually be wrong. Like in the 2021 bull market, if I came, which that's what I was around for, streaming hard, if I came up and just talked about, hey, price should go up to here, keep going up, up, up in a bull market, I sound like a genius, right? And then in the bear market, if you just keep saying price is going to go down, you sound like a genius too. But then eventually it's like every cycle shifts and changes. So at what point does the bear market end and does the price start going up for good, right? And then turn this whole entire area of 2 years of price action into like a small little blip on the map, right? Something like, who knows how many, it could be years, right? But one day as time goes on, all this seems like such a big deal right now, but it can be, so meaningless, right? And it's just the beginning of an entire book being written on, the state of PulseChain. So yeah, PulseChain right now, that's what I'm looking at least. So, pay attention to Ethereum, pay attention to what's going on with that consolidation. The prices are moving sideways. Pay close attention to what's happening there. And then with PulseChain, at the very least, you want to see us at least try to get, or at least confirm this higher low, and then see if we can just keep creating higher lows, right? And then triangle pattern. We know we love the triangles. If you followed me in 2021, 2022, when I did streaming all the time, like triangles, we love triangles. So that's what I would hope to see. And then just to kind of break it down on a smaller scale on the daily chart without thinking about too much previous structure. Let's see. Yeah, so looking here, I mean, let's do this. Look at all this structure, all this clutter. Oh, whoops. Look at all this clutter that we got right here. Extend it. Some wicks that we have right there. Extend it. Price was a little volatile, but bounced off this area, right? Extend it. And now here we are. And sure enough, we're getting a little bit of resistance, which is totally normal. But yeah, we really want to break this. So slowing down at this line is expected even in a bullish environment. But if and when we do decide to break through here, I mean, you have the next range, right? Let's do an actual line now. Look at this engulfing candle here, extend it over. Boom. So you have a bullish engulfing candle there that end up being bearish. And then later on, you get this bearish, almost engulfing candle that comes down. And then later on, you almost get an engulfing candle. But you see the volatility on the candles, right? Like in one day, price rips down. The next day, price rips up. Extend over, price rips up. Next day, rips down. Extend it over. And this is over the course of a few months. So this is a big, big line we're looking at. And these support resistance lines are essentially magnets too, for the price to eventually visit. Like I said, even if price wants to go down, you would expect at least something in this range, in the 3-0 range, to confirm, strong resistance or, fight a winning battle there and find some new support. But again, price rips down and it rips right back up off this line. And then since then, price hasn't visited. But as we showed on the weekly chart, we got that. We're trying to work out this higher low. So if this higher low is in fact going to confirm itself, at the very least, we should expect price to get there, right? And then, yeah, who knows? We can wake up tomorrow and price can be down here. But those are just things to pay attention to. So at least on PulseChain, I guess a quick little bit of micro analysis. Remove my drawings. Yeah, I mean, even on the 4-hour chart, it kind of looks the same. I mean, look at this 4-hour chart. Look at all of this price action right there. Right? It's not a straight line. It's right around that 3-0 range, right? A little bit below. But look at all this wick. A bunch of price sitting here, volatility, and boom, rips down, comes up right there, and then confirms at resistance, and then sayonara, says goodbye forever. Well, not forever, but for a while. And then, yeah, price is finally, working its way up here. So looks like we got our nice impulse and then a correction here. Typical 2-3 wave pattern, like a typical wave pattern, 1, 2, 3, something like that. So yeah, I would hope to see at least some sort of action there, because whether price goes up or down, this the price action in this area will give us a lot of information to build a sentiment, going forward. So yeah, that's PulseChain. Next thing I want to look at is HEX. HEX is my favorite coin. HEX has been my favorite coin for a long time. I had my span before I left Twitter or X. I had my span where the incentive token became like my main token of focus, and for right reason. I mean, that thing ripped from about 50 cents up to $10, which that was a fun ride in the midst of a bear market. So incentive token took good care of us for a while there. And yeah, since then, I mean, I still love incentive token, but like with all of the smoke and mirrors and everything, HEX is the one constant in my mind that I just loved and still do love. And today I love it more than I ever have. And it sounds crazy because it's like, oh, HEX is the only Richard Hart Cycle 2 token where there's investors from years and years ago that have, cash to dump on your head. Like, that is true. But looking at the wallets, there's a lot less sell pressure in today's conditions than there was back in 2021 when price ripped up to 50 cents. And then also too, I'm not going to break I'm just going to look at the charts, but if you guys look at the charts, the liquidity in the token too, I mean, if you see, went down by like 90%, right? So low liquidity means high volatility. But it's impressive that along the way down, we've seen, certain factors like the liquidity, just as one example, change that drastically, and price still being as low as it can be just kind of gives me that idea and feeling that, HEX will be one of those tokens that when PulseChain decides to have its day, I think HEX is going to be very prosperous for the people that do hold it and have been accumulating it. And this is not financial advice. I can be absolutely wrong. I mean, HEX is under a penny right now. I loved HEX when it was at 50 cents. I loved HEX before it got above a penny the first time. So, take that for what it is. But HEX is one of those tokens that, and of course, the whole yield situation, something that I talked a lot about for the people that do know me, and I'll get at the chart in a second, but I guess I have a lot to say because it's been a while. But something I talked a lot about before Richard Hart finally decided to, kind of just destroy the yield earnings, which for the people that are staked long term, that kind of built, I guess, a future and expected some, made some future plans based off the yield they were earning. It sucks for those people. But for the coin itself, it's something that needed to happen a long time ago. I've been very vocal, and it got to the point where I guess my reputation in the, not industry, but in the community with Richard Hart, it sort of got tarnished because instead of me being like a full-blown supporter, I had a lot of questioning. I had a lot of questions to these types of things that affected his tokens. And that was one of them. Back in like 2022, I made a couple videos on just how the yield itself, it's awesome. And it's a big selling point for HEX. Hey, get HEX, take HEX, earn a ton of yield or inflation, whatever the proper terminology is. And that's a reason, you put your money where it gets treated best, and that's a perfect place to put it. But the amount of inflation that people were earning was ridiculous. I mean, even myself, you could sell a big bag of your HEX and then wait days, weeks, months, or even like a year or two, and then boom, like all those coins you sold were going to replenish themselves. So I was thinking like the biggest whales in the ecosystem were earning enough yield that, gave them just, in my opinion, way too much money, right? So since then, Richard Hart has zapped that. And I think that's one of the most bullish factors to this token itself, that on top of the liquidity being just chopped by 90%. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into this that have changed since my last time being public talking about his ecosystem. Because yeah, the only thing that had me really enamored with HEX was the yield by the time like PulseChain launched and there's incentive token and even like PulseX and stuff. I was never a big PLS guy myself. I just, I have Pulse for gas fees, and I just always assume that Pulse is going to be the lowest performing asset in the midst of all the volatility. Not saying it's going to be a bad performing asset, but it's just going to be like for every 20% that any other Richard Hart token is going to give you, I feel like Pulse is going to give you 10%, right? But yeah, like the stakes and the yield was the only thing that made me love HEX at that time, but it was also the thing that made me, in the same breath, made me realize like, okay, like where do we go from here? But since then, that has all changed. So long story short, which that wasn't a short story at all. I have my eyes on HEX, and it probably sounds crazy and cliche, but paying attention to the Richard Hart ecosystem on Twitter, HEX has kind of been forgotten about, right? Like, there's so many more people in this ecosystem now and in this community now that you get in and it's like, oh, I buy Pulse, I buy PulseX. Incentive Token has its big, community within the community. And then there's like all of the other communities that are building their tokens on Pulse, which that's none of my worry or concern, at least for the stream. But Hex seems to have been kind of the forgotten about community within the community, as crazy as it sounds. And I feel like a lot of people are only still tied to Hex because they have stakes. And if it wasn't for their stakes, they'd be totally moved on, which is a good thing because you need the economic energy to transfer from hand to hand. So, yeah, there's a lot of things like that. And also too, like a lot of the quote unquote Hex OGs that were, day one guys that were front and center of the community when the community became what it was back in 2020 into 2021 and further. A lot of those guys, I see them on Twitter too. I'm just enjoying the show. Like a lot of them are getting into it with Richard Hart and losing. You see them just losing their patience, and you don't want to see anybody suffer. Absolutely not. That's not what I'm saying. But in order for me to feel good about the token that I hold, I want to see those types of things happen, because if everybody has the same belief, it's good for a while, right? Like when Hex went from 1 penny to 50 cents in 2021, everybody believed that thing was going to go and it was never going to stop because of just the environment. And of course you had the whole buy one get one PulseChain and everything when Sacrifice phase launched and all that. There's a lot that went into it, but everybody believed that Hex, like the price chart proved it too. Like this thing rips harder and dips less than everything, and it does take 60-70% dips, but it eats them. And this thing is trending towards $1 and then multi-dollar. Like it. So that type of enthusiasm and sentiment within a community is necessary for everyone to be on board. But when the price is down 60, 70, 80, the 90, the 99% over the course of a few years, you need to see those people that kind of just do nothing but shill their bags start to change and start to, lose their patience. And I think that's what we're seeing. So that's what I was getting at. A lot of the people that were kind of just blind shills because they held a lot of the token started losing their patience. And yeah, it's a good thing for people like, I guess us. If you're watching the stream, you're probably like me because you're still here today. But people like us that want to accumulate and make moves and adjust our positions on our bags, especially at these prices. I mean, look at these prices. Hex is at 0.6 of a penny, which it was at 0.48 literally like last week or a couple weeks ago. So anyways, looking at the chart itself, let's go to the weekly first. I mean, look at this. Like, this is not a price chart that you want to look at and be like, oh, this thing is trending up. Like, this thing is just nothing but a sideways chop since PulseChain launched. Like, it is just moving sideways in one big rectangle. It's just chopping. So remember that Ethereum choppy market I was just showing you guys at the beginning of the stream? That's what Hex has been doing, but over the course of going on, was it 3 years now? Yeah, it's 2 years. Yeah, no, it's only 2 years. I'm ahead of myself. But yeah, Hex is doing nothing but going sideways. In the midst of all of this, though, that's where all those things I was just mentioning, all of the changes within have been happening. So, and it's just necessary changes. But what you're not seeing in Hex that you do see in other altcoins is just down and to the right forever. Like liquidity just being drained and there's nothing left. There's no economic pressure whatsoever. That's not the case for Hex. So the thing that really, really, really gets my attention, and one of the big driving factors as to why I wanted to do a stream and look at Hex specifically, was the fact that this chart, yeah, it's not up and to the right. This is not a chart that you post to show off to your friends that are not in crypto. Be like, hey, look how rich I am. No. But for the people that want to take advantage of an asset, understanding what the actual token is, the quality of it, what it does, and the chain that it's on, the flawless chain that it's on, like the technology and the token are there. The price chart, technically you could say it's in cycle 2, but we kind of addressed a little bit of that already. But looking at the chart, it's just moving sideways. That's 2 years worth of tension where the people that have bags, they're not letting this thing sell under, what's this, 0.3 of a penny at the very worst. And then but there's also people that want to cash out when they do see 3 pennies. So it's a good exchange of hands over 2 years. How many people have been holding HEX? I'm pretty sure if you're watching the stream, you've been holding HEX for at least some time throughout this period, if not way, way longer, because it's been out since 2019. But I'm saying that because like this choppiness in the market, that's just, you're seeing coins and value just being exchanged between hands. How many people with massive bags in 2021 are selling the majority of their bags in this choppy market? How many people who didn't have bags early on are buying and, you know, increasing themselves in the ranks at the bottom of these markets or even at the top of this? I mean, this is a really impressive chart in the weirdest way, because yeah, every altcoin that does not see its second cycle is going to go down and to the right forever, and it just gets lower and lower and lower, and it just looks dead, and you essentially don't even get price candles anymore. But not in this scenario. So that's one thing I wanted to point out. Now, doing some actual technical analysis, now take this with a grain of salt, because like I mentioned, the liquidity is very thin. So it doesn't take much for this chart to just erupt, right? Anything can change at any moment and technicals will be broken. Now, technicals will always be respected. Like resistance and support's always going to return. Like let's say prices were to rip all the way up here in a matter of 2 days. Eventually the smoke will settle and it's going to find some new support or resistance, or in that scenario, it would be some new support line. But so take that with a grain, but looking at it, I mean, yeah, similar to what PulseChain was trying to do. And this is the weekly chart. So it had its all-time low way back here. But what PulseChain is trying to do is create that higher high or higher low. HEX is trying to do the same thing. Now it's a little bit more sideways than what Pulse looks like. But now think about the context of the beginning of the stream. You cannot forget about what Ethereum's doing and what PulseChain is doing before building any sort of sentiment on these altcoins on the layer 2 chain, right? So that's why I want, if you're going to pay attention and kind of see what I'm seeing, just understand that Ethereum's a huge player into this, the biggest player. So we're going to see, like, I don't want to call it like a fractal, but we're going to see similar movements, but just in a different way. So, but anyways, HEX is trying to create that the higher low, which so far so good. I'm going to go to a daily chart though, just because it's going to sound redundant if I just look at weekly charts on all these coins that look the same or come from the same place. But yeah, overall, HEX isn't, the higher low doesn't look as pretty as what it does, you know, on Pulse itself on the weekly. But what you see is the same sort of thing on when you're looking at the Pulse token. It had a bunch of candles just slowly turning the tide high, and then it ripped. Of course, HEX did the exact same thing. And then looking back at it, I mean, you have this area, this area, this area, got a wick right here. So clearly this is an area or a magnet for price to eventually get to and slow down at. So the fact that price is essentially slowing down here is no shocker. Although, I mean, it looks, we got this doji candle, and this is a daily chart, so it's not gonna, oh, hang on, my glasses are talking to me. This is a daily chart, so this candle could finish positive before, you know, the day actually closes. But just looking at the same thing, yeah, HEX is hitting some resistance right now, but the main thing is, like, where would I expect HEX to get to if it's going to break above? Now, thinking back to that ascending triangle that we would hope to see PulseChain happen, and then thinking back to that structure of Ethereum breaking above that channel that it's moving sideways at. If those things happen, where would I expect HEX to go from here? And then, of course, I mean, something that's just glaring at you. Look at all these wicks right here. Look at this. All these wicks right there. That's an insane amount of, that's an insane area of support that eventually extended over, turns into resistance. Look at that. So right there, that's the clear area. That's the biggest magnet on this price chart right now. Let's make this prettier with the rectangle. So we got a range right there that price was at it back in May. But if we do confirm those higher lows across the ecosystem and Ethereum can finally break out of its channel, I mean, now you're talking 1 cent HEX, right? And we're not far at all. I mean, price was just at under half a penny. Now we're getting closer to 3/4 of a penny. So this thing does move fast. So yeah, if PulseChain's flirting with that 0.3 range, I'm expecting HEX to kind of, you know, get around that penny range. But overall, I mean, looking back too, just look at this white dotted line right here where the price is currently at. And look at, you just see a ton of price action in the chart's history. So there's a reason why price decides to slow down or pull back. If you just understand to look at the right areas and charts, look at all that. See, so big support level that was resistance at one point. So this level that we're sitting at right now was confirmed resistance back in the middle of 2024. And then, yeah, price just shot way above that. But then when it all came back down to it, it's trying to, break its way out of here. Now, one thing I will say structurally, which, like I said, the TA on such a low liquidity coin like this, TA is not going to tell you too much. Although, again, like support and resistance areas do matter. But so looking at waves like wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, like microwaves inside of a macro wave. And then like a big macro wave 1, pullback wave 2, wave 3 down here, and then micro 1, 2, 3. And then if the tide is turning, 1, 2, 3, right? And then trying to get a 1. Who knows if this pulls back 2, and then maybe we get a 3 up. So, I mean, just looking at the chart in waves, that's just something with support and resistance. When the chart slows down, expect pullbacks, expect corrections. And that was just me drawing a bunch of hoopla, but just to kind of explain, like, hey, waves, support, resistance, like technical analysis just needs to stay super basic to make the most sense. But again, I'm pointing all that out because, this isn't going to do much on its own. But if we start seeing, Ethereum and PulseChain itself start to move up, then HEX is going to move up at a much faster rate and a much higher rate. I'm not going to get too much into like forecasting how high and where it can go. I mean, we know where HEX can go. HEX can go to some ridiculous levels, but I'll save that for when the actual chart decides to go back there in the future. By the way, looking at these waves, this head and shoulders, right? Shoulder, head, shoulder in that wave. So the price did complete a head and shoulders pattern, right? And that I forgot to mention that. Let me clear these out just to show that. Like a head and shoulders pattern, right? You get the shoulder, you get the head, you get the shoulder, the price goes down. That pattern was completed and confirmed, and it didn't go any lower than the all-time lows, right? So that's a good sign that, okay, prices may be ready to move on. It tried to, impulse correction, impulse made a higher low. It couldn't break above this resistance line to get higher and flip it to support to create even higher lows. Of course, it lost the battle right there. But the fact is, like, if you think about it too, a micro head and shoulders, look at shoulder, head, shoulder, down. It may have just completed a micro head and shoulder on top of a macro head and shoulder. And then this is, this could be the start of a breakout of something new. So I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying, like, looking at all these different things, you can form sentiments off of that. Let's take a quick look at this RSI. I have to update these colors, but and then too, like looking at these RSIs or the RSI, whenever price flirts with this bottom range, you usually get some type of movement, like even past here, right? If we bounce off the bottom, look at this in September 2024, price hit that bottom line. I'm not going to go through all of them, but price ripped up off of it, right? Bottom line right here, we had this wick, and then price, it doesn't look sexy in the candles because it was just a wick, but that's how fast it moved up. And then it came right back down right here. Got this short impulse right here. Doesn't indicate that the price is going to stay up, of course, but the fact is, like, when the price goes down, boom, all-time low on that RSI. It created what looked to be a bottom at the time. It went from 0.4 of a penny to about a penny, right? And we just hit that a couple weeks ago with this low. So, and we do got the impulse here. So, but in the same breath, I mean, kind of looks so, I'm not going to say it's overbought just yet, but it's nice to see an RSI slow down. The fact that we bottomed out and saw an impulse in the RSI, and we actually see the price correlate with that. And then if price pulls back and just chills out, and the lower this RSI can go, I like when the RSI gets lower, because then it shows that there's going to be a lot of economic energy on one side or the other. But it's not necessarily oversold just yet. So it wouldn't be a bad thing if price just chilled out and stalled in the 0.6 of a penny range for a while, allowed itself to reset, and then gave ourselves another, reason to look for the next leg up. So But then, of course, if you're holding a Richard Hart token, anything can go down at any point. And that's shown that's been proven to anybody, right? But I mean, I wouldn't bank on this thing going much further or much lower for much longer, because again, think of the big picture. This thing is one choppy sideways market, and eventually Ethereum's going to have its day. When Ethereum decides to break out of its market, I mean, the numbers that Ethereum can do. I mean, when you're talking 5-figure Ethereum in the future, let's say it's flirting with 10K. I'm not saying it's happening this cycle or soon, but let's say when Ethereum gets to that point, just imagine what PulseChain is going to do. But imagine with something like this token, where it can go. So again, looks crazy and it looks like it's nothing now, but one day, right? One day. So, one other token, right, that I want to briefly look at, that I personally like. It's not a Richard Hart created token, but a token that, and well, real quick, PulseX, right? Like, I'm not going to be too redundant on this at this point. Looking at Pulse and HEX and PulseX and incentive token, they're all kind of in the same scenario. PulseX, look at, got that low, trying to create a higher low, got the big impulse off of there. So they're all in the same sort of like range. This PulseX range looks sexy though. I mean, it's not necessarily in a triangle, but if you just kind of look at it and from a scale, like you just have like these lower highs and essentially higher lows. Kind of, right? It's not perfect, but yeah, I try to make it fit. But really, if you look at it, like it's totally condensing itself. Big, wide, volatile range, slowly starting to compact, build tension, and then things are going to blow. And then, of course, you have to think of the factors like Richard Hart with his SEC case officially beating it. I mean, Richard Hart apparently going full-fledged into his marketing again, which a lot of those can be, and not a lot of them, but like the marketing could be a lot of buy the rumor, sell the news type things. But if he's really marketing the way that he's claiming, like never before seen, a little bit of marketing, a little bit of a community with some good sentiment, and that's all you need. And the reason why I don't miss Twitter is because, yeah, it's too many people have been beaten down for so long that it's really toxic for no reason. And I don't like to associate myself with those types of people. Like, it was cool at one point to have fun. Once I built that big platform, big page, it was fun to kind of troll and have fun. But then when I realized like everybody was like seriously feeling down and bad, I was like, okay, it's not my area to be in my environment. But anyways, one token I want to look at real quick. It's called Helgo. If you love HEX, if you like HEX, you'll love Helgo. It's basically built for HEX. I'm not going to give anybody an introduction onto what the token is, but look up the token if you're interested in a fun Richard Hart ecosystem-based token that was built for HEX, designed to pump HEX. I mean, it's really cool. It's a brilliant design token. I really enjoy it. I've had my feet dipped into this token for quite some time now. You can tell it's not a brand new token, but I see everyone on Twitter shilling this token, that token, building this new thing. And, you know, you have all these shills, but what people are missing is the actual one good meme coin on PulseChain that withstood the test of time, that the price chart actually looks fantastic for being in a brutal bear market. As you can see, I mean, it is a choppy sideways market, but I mean, ever since September of 2024, this thing came up and never came back down. And the prices, look at, I mean, it's a really inexpensive coin. And if HEX is going to pump and if PulseChain is going to pump, this thing will do insane numbers. Just comparing it to HEX. All right, this is the chart against HEX. Yeah, so like if you loved HEX, right, which I love HEX, I fell in love with Helgo because realizing what it does for HEX, but also too having my feet dipped into this market and then realizing what it did when the prices totally ripped at the end of last year into the beginning of this year. And then when everything else came back down, this essentially stayed up, and the ratio is unreal. It basically 5x'd against things like HEX. So this is just a token that, again, I'm not like here to shill it because I'm like, hey, buy this token, but this is a token I genuinely love, and this is my stream, so I'm going to talk about what I love, and that's it. So, but anyways, if you are a Helgo holder, if not, hey, opportunity staring us all in the face. If so, I mean, the price chart looks fantastic. And we're getting this choppiness in the market, right? Sort of just getting this triple, I don't want to call it a triple top because this is going back to 2024. This is a day chart, but sideways market for a while, right? You see the sideways, and then it just decides it wants to go up. Now, the cool thing about this, right? So we had this ascending pattern for a while, but the cool thing about Helgo, because let's say everything else is looking bearish, this thing maintained its bullish structure. And the reason why I fell in love with this token is because I'm a price chart guy. I like to do technical analysis. This chart gives us the actual structure. So whenever a chart gives me structure, I like to participate in those markets. And I do that with coins that are not even on PulseChain, that are on Ethereum, with regular stocks. I don't do trading anymore. Don't have the time for that. But insane. Just one chart that looks brilliant on PulseChain is this one. But then also too, as you can see, like the exact same pattern that you're getting on, HEX and Pulse and PulseX, you get this, this channeling bottom that rips up, right? It mimics the same move to the upside, but in my experience, it doesn't mimic the same move to the downside. So, yeah, I won't dive too much into this. I just wanted to bring this up because this is a token that anytime I'm in a stream, I'm going to look at this token because I love the token. Yeah, just wanted to introduce whoever is not in it. This is not financial advice. I do not know if this coin's ever going to go up or down, but all I do know is that it withstood the test of time. It's a legitimate token and it's built for HEX. Do your own research. And yeah, if you're going to be a part of my streams and want to have some fun with me, this is something that I'm going to be doing a lot of analysis on. So, and then of course, real quick, the incentive token. Where's incentive at? Can't believe I forgot my baby. Go to the weekly chart. Man, what a time. So before I left Twitter, this was kind of like my last run on Twitter, was right. We had our incentive near the bottom, and then this thing ran up to $10. I mean, this time in early 2024, this thing was giving us X's on top of X's in the midst of a bear market. Like, because of that alone, even if nothing else happened in crypto ever again in the Richard Heart ecosystem, like, I'll always be forever grateful for what incentive token gave us at that stage. But extending the chart over, same thing, right? It's kind of just been channeling sideways in a different way, right? A lot of economic factors that changed here, but overall, we have this kind of equilibrium in the chart. Price tried to make some support at once, but resistance, broke above it, came right back down. We got a little bit of a wick, like flirting with support resistance flips, but essentially stayed resistance for this long. And then now prices, it shot below and didn't want to come back up. And then now it looks like it's trying to show this new tier of resistance, this lower tier, which price is working above, but in the same scenario, built this low, it's working on a higher low. We break above that. I mean, we're talking something in the range of, what is this, $2-3? Let's say $2.50 to $3. It's a wide range. That's in the weekly chart. If I go down to the daily, go down to the daily chart. Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would probably just with a quick glance throw onto that, you got this range right here. You extend this over about $2.30. Got a bunch of bounces here, bunch of price action here, price action. Look at that right there. So same thing, same sentiment shared across all of these tokens. Ethereum's only at $2,500 right now. So if Ethereum doubles and goes back to all-time highs, which is around $5,000 or like 4,800, these tokens, I mean, yeah, there's going to be a world full of prosperity on PulseChain before you know it. It could take years, it could take months, it could take days, it could take weeks. We do not know. I definitely do not know, and I don't want to act like I know. All I can do is just kind of try to paint my picture with what I see on the chart. But overall, I mean, this is the reason why I wanted to stream. One of the million reasons why I wanted to stream was I want to be a part of this. I want to be a part of sharing, my sentiment and perspective with the community, especially in a time where I feel like it's going to be more prosperous than not. I feel like the tide is sort of shifted from the bearish conditions in the bear market and all of the red flags per se around Richard Heart and all that. I mean, we're going to get back to a more normalized world and see crypto for what it is. And yeah, who knows how long the cycles are going to continue to go on for, like everything. Like, it's volatile in the beginning, it's volatile early, and then it slowly, just slows down, kind of like how you see with Bitcoin. Although Bitcoin's been on a tear, but like what's Bitcoin up 5-ish x, 5 to 8x from its 2021 bottom, which is not bad. I mean, you get a 5 to 8x in these tokens, you're happy too, of course. But if you're in crypto, you know, like you get into the right asset on the right chain, and you mess with the right technology around here, you can see some serious stuff. So yeah, I do look forward to streaming more often. Actually, I want to participate and be in the charts. So at least I get you guys a quick overview for the few that are here. I don't know if people are actually here or not, but yeah. So that's that. I will see you guys when I see you guys. It felt so good just to get on a stream and chat. So share this with whoever. I'm not announcing it anywhere. I mean, I don't even have a platform to announce it to. So if you want to share it with anybody you care about, just bring them on over here. I'll take good care of your friends, your family. And yeah, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, you guys have a good one, and I'll see you soon.